Yo, it's Kenyon Dixon, artist, singer, songwriter, producer, vocal producer, viber, man, and I got soul, so that's pretty dope. Being from Watts, man, it's played a huge role in my grind, my hustle, my music. It's just where I'm from, man. People don't even make it out to do half of what I've done, and it's hard to even be hopeful and imagine even kind of working and seeing some of this stuff. So I always keep that in mind. I grew up seeing the polar opposite of what I'm living right now, and so that's just a testament of having faith and just working hard, man. You got to work yourself out of your situation, and I believe I was able to do that, so I'm grateful for that. My approach when I'm putting together my own projects, it varies. It kind of depends on where I am in life. At the time, a lot of times these projects they're not finished until they're out, to be honest. So it's fair playing ground the entire time. I may hear a record, sit with it for a while, and decide it doesn't work anymore. Or I may hear another record that I probably didn't think worked at all, and now it's on the project. So I kind of just start from whether it's a record I was sent, a track I was sent that I like, or if I sit down and start producing and I just kind of catch a vibe or I have an idea and I'm able to execute what I want sonically. I just build from there. I lay that foundation, that vibe. Pretty much the sound just kind of goes on and develops from there. My approach when I'm working on other artists' music, it's a lot different because they have different, it's different guidelines. They have different expectations. You're dealing with different people, and so everybody, you just got to catch a vibe depending on what they want. There's some stuff when I'm writing or producing for other artists that I may think is amazing. They may not like it, so we either got to find a medium or I got to try and convince them that this makes sense, or I just got to be okay with taking that L on what I wanted to do creatively. But it's a lot different when you're working on your own stuff. You have a lot more freedom. You're executively producing everything, and so you bounce ideas off of yourself. So it's a lot different when you got to deal with different people. You got to catch different vibes and kind of find a medium and something that works for everybody. Especially when you're working with artists who are mainstream, they play by a completely different set of rules, and there's some stuff that just doesn't work for them. But it makes your music even greater because then it gives you an idea of what works on the mainstream side, but what you can still do creatively to brand yourself and your individuality. So I think that's the biggest difference between creating for myself and other people. The relationship between a singer and a songwriter, or a producer and a songwriter, a producer and a singer, it varies depending on the individual. To be honest, everybody has different involvement with what they're doing creatively. You have some artists who don't really care to be involved in their creative side of stuff. They're just like, give me the record, and if it's a hot record, I'm going to take it. You have some artists who are like, yo, this is what I want specifically. I don't want anything other than that. Sometimes they explain stuff that doesn't even make sense, but that's your job as a writer to kind of make it make sense and figure it out. And so I've been in both of those situations. And so, yeah, man, it can be a little bit challenging at times, just depending on who you're working with. But I like to connect with the artist. I feel like if I'm working on your stuff, I need to know what you like. I want to know a little bit about you because that gives me a better metric of how to give you something that you would really appreciate versus just anybody can write a single. In general, I'm into classic records. I feel like you can write a single and a classic record, so I want to make sure I give you both, something that works for everybody else and something that years down the line you're gonna still rock with and don't have to listen back to this and be like, yo, why did I cut this? So I definitely have my preference on the type of artist that I like to work with, but the industry doesn't work like that, and you're just thrown in different situations and you adapt and adjust. And yeah, it's a challenge sometimes, man, but we get it done. I think the formula for writing a hit varies as well because, first of all, it depends on the type of music that you're doing. Pop music has a particular formula. R&B music has a particular formula. Country music has a particular formula. The challenge is branding yourself and what you're creating, because you got to take this formula that everybody else is using and they still need to be able to identify that this is your work inside of what's so common with everybody else. And so above all, man, I think a vibe trumps all of that. When it's a hit record. Like, you can write a million records, and comparatively from writing for other people and myself, there are some records that I write and I'm like, yo, this record is amazing, that I intended to keep it for myself. And I'm like, I think this would be like a single for somebody else. If I keep it, it may not be what I want it to be, or you know, kind of grow to its full potential. Well, on the other side, you got some records where you go in and you demo stuff, you write and demo stuff for other artists, and you're like, I think I might want to keep this for myself. So yeah, there's a fine line, man. Advice I would give to somebody who wants to get into this industry, just study your craft. I feel like if it was any other profession, especially in education, a higher learning, you know, you would further that education and make sure that you're learning everything you can. So be a student of what it is you desire to be successful in. We have the World Wide Web. Everything is made available to you. There's really no excuse to not know anything. Take advantage of the access you have to people, ask questions. And so that's something I wish I would have done. A publishing deal, for instance, there's a lot I didn't know that I found out. I feel like I'm an expert at it now. There's a lot I didn't know that I found out until after I got into it. And so I would just really encourage you to just study what you're getting into. There's some stuff you won't even be able to find out until you experience it. And, you know, take what I'm saying, but it is different for everybody. But just a general rule of thumb, I would say, for sure, get every piece of information you possibly can. A pit I had to overcome on my journey to success. There were for sure quite a few of them. I think the one that resolving it was the most conducive to me, you know, kind of staying on my grind as an artist today, was learning that I didn't have to wait around for anybody. Believe it or not, I was waiting. You know, I had this desire to create music, and I'm just like, everybody's busy. You know, people are like, yo, I want to work with you. I want to do this. And so I would find myself sitting around, like, just stressed out. Like, yo, I have all these ideas. I want to get them out. But, like, I got to wait for this person. I got to wait for that person. And when I realized all this stuff is online and you got access to whatever it is you want to learn how to do, I went and got my own equipment, own software, learned everything I can. I was sitting in the sessions working with people who do what I'm waiting on someone to do for me. And so literally I start asking questions, and I learned how to get the stuff done. And now, I mean, I'm creating whole projects by myself from scratch with, you know, you could always use the help, but I only need the help if I decide I need it creatively. And so when I kind of put myself in that mindset and changed my disposition about how I was moving forward, that opened up a completely different world for me. Biggest obstacle I've faced in music has a lot to do with where I'm from. In Watts, there's really not too many niggas like singing. You either rapping or playing sports, trapping, gang banging, you know what I'm saying? And I always felt like the odd one out. Like, I wasn't really into that growing up. I was always into entertainment. Like, I was that kid patronizing the arts and everything. And even then, you know, growing up, I felt like I got a little flack for it. And so as I got older, even when it kind of prolonged me getting into music, because I just kept thinking like, oh, well, you know, what are they gonna think, especially my homies, you know, whatever. Long story short, man, I just realized they're doing their thing, I'm gonna do my thing. And when I became comfortable, everybody else, you know, they were rocking with it. I'm a firm believer in you can't really convince somebody of something that you're not comfortable with yourself. And so when I got in a place and I changed my disposition about what I wanted to do, what I was doing creatively, I mean, I'm going to sell the hell out of it. You see, you know what I'm saying? You see, I feel it, and you don't really got no choice, because my vibe going to say whether you rock with this or not, I know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I think it was an issue. Never again. Ever again. Yo, it's Kenyon Dixon, and I support Project Pitt.